Hello, welcome to Love at Home with Kim. This is going to be a totally TMI video. So friends and family, if you don't like that, then you may stop right here. So if you can hear my baby from the background, it's because she's right here right now just playing in her bouncer. But yeah, today I'm going to tell you guys the things that they don't tell you about childbirth and labor. And again, just a warning, this is going to be TMI. I'm going to mention a lot of things that are not cute, not fun at all, but that's okay, it's totally normal. Today, I am 3 months postpartum, or about 12 weeks postpartum, and I have some friends who are actually gonna give birth soon, so they're probably gonna watch this. But again, totally TMI. People don't just break their water like a sudden gush of waterfalls like what they show in the movies, okay? So some people have that little bit of drizzle, some people do have that gush of water, and some people like me, I only had my water broken up to about 4 hours before I gave birth, and I already had my epidural, so I was totally numb already. I didn't even notice until my nurse told me. Number 2, just because you feel contractions doesn't mean you're gonna get admitted in the hospital. So some people, especially for first-time moms, the moment you feel contractions, you would think that you have to go to the hospital already. But luckily, I attended some childbirth classes and they told me that once you can't handle the pain anymore, you can't talk anymore, that's the time you go to the hospital. And they were right, because by the time I went to the hospital, I was already 4 to 5 centimeters. But yeah, the moment you feel your contractions and you still can walk, you can still cook, you can still have a good conversation, then chances are if you go to the hospital by then, it's gonna be considered too early and they might send you home, which is very frustrating. Next is that contractions isn't a sudden feeling, it's actually a gradual sensation that you would feel in your abdomen up to your back. So it's not as dramatic as in the movies wherein they're gonna be like, oh, I'm giving birth. You know, it's not gonna be like that. For most women that I know, it's like a sudden feeling until you kind of get used to the pain until you can't take it anymore. Next thing that they don't tell you about childbirth and labor is that you might have diarrhea while you're in labor. So I think it's the body's way of removing the toxins, but some people don't experience this. But as for me, I kind of experienced this for a bit, and that was my telling sign that it's time. Apart from the painful labor, of course. Next thing is that you don't really have a guarantee when your baby will be born, not unless you have a scheduled C-section. So due dates are usually just an average as to when your baby will be born, but it can't be a guarantee. Because as for my mom and my sister, I based it on them that they gave birth, I think, 2 or 3 weeks before their due date. And as for me, I gave birth a day after my due date. So it was really different for every person. While epidurals are a holy grail for a lot of moms, it's not rainbows and sunshine all the time. So as for me, the effects of the epidural is vomiting and a lot of shivering. So I think within 30 minutes of having the epidural, I started to shiver and started to shake so much because I felt so cold. And I believe I have vomited about 3 or 4 times from the time they gave the epidural up to giving birth. So it wasn't such a pretty sight, but I was still thankful that I had it. One thing that you want to ask your doctor is whether or not they're gonna give birth to you. And most of the time, they have a schedule too, right? So you gotta ask them if they're gonna be there on your due date, because your doctor, the one that you see every week or every month, might not be the one who would give birth to you. And you might be disappointed seeing another doctor and be like, oh, who are you? So just be prepared for that, and maybe you can also talk to your practitioner whether or not they're gonna be there on that set date of your due date. As for me, I just got lucky. When I came in the hospital, it was a different doctor, but by the time I was about to give birth, it was already the doctor that I would usually see during my OB appointments. So I just got lucky, I guess. Someone wanted to join us. Okay, so I guess we're gonna be like this for the rest of the video. So one thing you have to realize is that they don't care about the hair. So you just gotta get over the fact that a lot of people are gonna see your vajayjay. And that's fine, that's okay. It's a part of their job, they're used to it. So some people might see a ton of balance sheets every day in their daily jobs. And as for them, they see a lot of vajayjays and boobs too. So that's okay, that's fine. It's natural. Another fact is that you may or may not poop. So some people poop and that's okay. They say about 50 to 75% of women actually poop while they're pushing. I asked my husband if I did poop and he told me that I didn't. I feel like he was lying or something just to make me feel better, but he told me that I didn't. He saw it and I didn't poop, and he said that if I did poop, the doctor would have given me some antibiotics, but she didn't, so probably I'm one of the lucky ones who didn't. I'm not saying that you're unlucky if you did poop, right? But it's completely natural. Because of seeing everything in the movies about childbirth and all, I used to think that the most painful part is the actual pushing. But in reality, for me, since I had epidural, pushing wasn't really as painful as the contractions or labor prior to having the epidural. So that one was really painful. I mean, they had to get me using a wheelchair, and yeah, it was just really painful. Speaking of pushing can feel like forever. So I think I was pushing for about 40 minutes before my baby came out. And I know a lot of women out there, especially if you're already a mom, will be like, oh, 30 to 40 minutes? You're so freaking lucky. I was pushing for 5 hours. I was pushing for 7 hours. Okay, fine, great. But yeah, congratulations to me. I was able to push for 40 minutes and baby came out. But I'm telling you, it felt like forever. I was so frustrated. I was tired. It wasn't really painful, but I was so tired. It was so exhausting. It's like running a marathon. And it was just tiring, period. Another thing that they didn't mention about childbirth is how much rectal pressure you're going to feel down there. So I did not expect that I would somehow feel like there's a huge basketball right up down my... And it just... that's how I would describe it. I don't know any other way to describe it, but there's like a basketball down there and I just gotta get it out. Another thing that they didn't mention is that you might tear down there, or they might have to snip you, or what they call episiotomy, something like that. But they have to like cut your the skin between the hole of your vagina and the perineum. Yeah, that part. There's gonna be a chance that they're gonna stitch you up, and that's fine. It's gonna heal on its own, and usually they would use the thread that will just dissolve on its own. It sounds kind of scary, but when you're already there, I promise you, it's just, you're just gonna want to like lay back and rest as they stitch you up. I didn't even realize that my doctor was already stitching me up until I saw her doing these kinds of motions, and then they were talking about sutures and stuff. So my husband was just there watching as the doctor was stitching me up, but he's fine with that because he's, you know, he's also a nurse. So yeah, but I couldn't imagine seeing myself being stitched up, but that's basically what happened. Another thing is that emergencies might happen regardless of how healthy you are. So just be prepared for that. Luckily, we didn't experience any kind of emergency. Everything was fine, but just letting you know. Another thing that I didn't know before about childbirth was that you also have to deliver the placenta. So when they were telling me that I gotta push a little bit more to deliver the placenta, I was like, what? How am I gonna do that again? And the nurses kind of just chuckled a little bit and they said, oh no, it's just a little bit of push. And then I just pushed the placenta out and bloop, it's already there. They also didn't tell you how much you're gonna bleed after birth. So after you deliver the placenta, your doctor or nurses are still gonna massage your belly and they're gonna remove some blood from you. So I kind of heard my nurses or doctor, I'm not really sure who, say that I think I lost about 400 ml of blood, and that's pretty normal for a normal delivery. And apart from that, you're also going to lose a lot of blood in the next coming weeks after childbirth. So I didn't know it will take that long. For me, I think it took about 6 weeks before it completely stopped. So I had to wear diapers or those maternity pads, but for the first few days I was actually wearing diapers and it's a lot more comfortable for me. And your doctor might prescribe you with iron supplements. It kind of helps with blood loss, and at the same time those iron supplements might cause constipation, so they're also going to give you some stool softeners. So those are the things that you might probably have to consider buying or getting already. I also saw some plastic cups, or not really cups, but like containers that had numbers and lines on them. So I didn't know what they were, and all I know is that you're not supposed to remove them. Yeah, you're not supposed to remove them from the toilet bowl. So what those are measuring thingies that they have to measure whatever comes out of you. So let's say after giving birth you have to pee, then that thing will just kind of measure how much you pee. So instead of going directly on the toilet bowl, it goes on that measuring cup thingy that's in the toilet bowl. I don't know if you get it. Do you get it? I mean, comment them down below if you understand what I'm talking about. One last thing is that they're gonna make sure that you poop before you leave the hospital. And let me tell you, it's not going to be a pleasant experience. It's gonna be scary because you're gonna be afraid that you might tear again down there. And then it's just, you know, you just gotta do it. But luckily for me, it felt kind of like diarrhea. So it was a bit easy for me to push my poop down, but a lot of people or a lot of moms I've heard just can't do it. They just can't. And I don't know, I think you just have to force yourself, or some of the hospital staff are just gonna give you some stool softeners. That is all I have for you today for the different things that they don't tell you about childbirth and labor. And if you are pregnant right now, don't be scared. It's all natural. We're gonna get through it. You know, your baby's gonna come out no matter what, so don't be scared. If I was able to survive that, you're definitely gonna survive that too. And I know baby is already getting angry, but yeah, subscribe to my channel. Bye.
You're welcome here. Welcome here. Our hearts you hold hostage, that much is clear. You are most welcome here.
Thing you have to realize is that the hospital staff, one thing you have to oh no, sige na, sali ka na.